Hi, my name is Beth. Recently, my husband and I saw some fun things in the Florida Keys, and we thought that you might like to tag along. Some people like to fly directly to Key West, but we wanted to experience the entire 165-mile length of this chain of small islands. So we flew into Miami, rented a Camaro convertible from Turo, which is pretty much an Airbnb for cars, and made our way to US Route 1, or Highway 1, and headed south. 90 minutes later, Betsy the Lobster greeted us at the Rainbarrow Village in Islamorada. 30 feet tall and made of fiberglass, she is the second most photographed attraction in the Florida Keys. Inside the village itself is a colorful and peaceful tropical garden, though slightly graffitied, combined with artsy shops and galleries, like One Drug Monkey, offering local arts and crafts. Another 45 minutes later, we arrived in Marathon, in the middle of the Keys, that got its name from workers on the Florida East Coast Railroad in the early 1900s who said that the job was getting to be a real marathon. Key Colony Beach is where we were staying. So we unloaded our suitcases, which wouldn't fit in the trunk, and checked into our Airbnb that came complete with kayaks and paddleboards, a waterfront view, and was just a short walk from Sunset Park, where we got to see firsthand how it got its name. That night, after having listened to Kokomo on the drive down, we watched Tom Cruise's Cocktail, even though none of it was actually filmed in the Keys. The next morning, we visited the nearby Cabana Club, using the membership included with our Airbnb, and enjoyed the ocean view as we sat by the pool, sipping on tropical drinks as they melted in our hands, before dipping our feet in the ocean. And even getting in a little reading. It was so relaxing. Later, we drove through Marathon, which has fun photo spots scattered throughout. Visitors often fly here for their beaches. But for now, we ventured over to Oceanfront Park, which is pet-friendly, right on the Atlantic, and perfect for quiet walks and picnicking. It's also a great place to see some local wildlife, like the white ibis, known for being sociable, the huge iguanas, known for eating landscaping and startling people, and the sea turtles, who come ashore at night to lay eggs between April and October. Of course, we didn't see any of those during the day.
There's nothing there.
That night, we watched a movie that was filmed in the Florida Keys, at least partially. License to Kill, shot at Key West Airport, St. Mary's Church, and most notably, the Hemingway home. The next day, we visited the Dolphin Research Center. This animal sanctuary on the Gulf side of Marathon opened as a porpoise school in 1958, and one of their dolphins starred in the 1963 film Flipper. The place has changed hands and names several times over the years. This was one of them. The current research center, however, was founded in 1984 to demonstrate behaviors, training, and other activities in narrated sessions.
They can see you. Winley's like, me too? Okay, I'll bring up the rear here.
Visitors can pay to experience a variety of interactive programs, either in the water or from a floating dock. Dolphins love to make waves. And they're just so happy. As of our visit, this center has been home to over 20 dolphins. We went back to our Airbnb for lunch and couldn't help but watch an episode of the old Flipper TV series, which was filmed in Miami and Key Biscayne. And for the very first time, we tasted key lime pie. This sweet and tart pie originated in Key West in the late 19th century. It was really good, very similar to cheesecake. Then, for dinner, we strolled over to Havana Jack's, just down the street, and enjoyed a moonlit night on their open-air patio facing the Atlantic side of the island. It was like a scene right out of a movie. The next morning, we rented bikes and rode about a mile to the start of the old 7-mile bridge, which was part of the Florida East Coast Railway's Key West extension, often called the Overseas Railroad, and was among the longest existing bridges when it was finished back in 1912. It was damaged in a hurricane in '35, but a few years afterward was modified for cars and trucks, and became part of the Overseas Highway. It once included a swing bridge that allowed boats to pass from the Gulf to the Atlantic. Of course, it has since been removed. A new bridge opened in '82, and today we arrived on Pigeon Key, 2 miles in on what's now a pedestrian bridge, right before the rain. This island served as a camp for those working on the railroad. This shuttle, however, is the only semblance of a train now. And they hold summer camps here, so the buildings function as a museum, bunkhouses, and classrooms for their marine science programs. Later, we saw Pigeon Key from a completely different vantage point. Then we visited Bahia Honda State Park, known for its powdery white beaches, sunsets, shorebirds, and year-round warm sea breezes. This is here so you don't totally get lost in the serenity. But we followed this sign to an open-air patio, where we had dinner and cocktails on Marathon's Gulf side. The next morning, we drove to Big Key Pine for a 4-hour snorkel tour to Blue Key Reef with Captain Hooks. We rode on one of their pontoon boats, about 5 nautical miles south. The water was pretty choppy, but they let everyone get in. I was a little nauseous, so I decided to stay on board. Then the crew noticed a number of jellyfish swimming between the snorkelers and the boat. With that news, Josh frantically made his way back to the boat, barely avoiding getting stung. One mom wasn't so fortunate and said, quote, "That stung like a mother." Eager to see some friendlier marine life, Josh fished for some footage. But under these rough conditions, this was the best he could get. The next day, we made our way to Vacation Boat Rentals on the other side of Key Colony and chartered a 22-foot Sea Fox Commander for the day. Then we pushed off and eased out of the neighborhood before opening things up and getting a new view of Pigeon Key and the old 7-mile bridge as we approached and went under it. And we got a new view of the new bridge before looking back at Pigeon Key one last time. Next, Josh piloted us 5 miles south out to sea, where we saw the Sombrero Reef Lighthouse, the tallest lighthouse in the Florida Keys at 142 feet high. An 8-sided pyramid of cast iron, the light was in service from 1858 until 2015, positioned mostly on submerged reef. We were proud to have made it out here on our own. And tethered to a nearby buoy, determined to see some tropical fish. Like the yellowtail snapper, which has a yellow band going from their snout to their forked tail. and the Sergeant Major, named for their brightly striped bars, similar to the insignia of a military sergeant major. As if that wasn't enough, we even spotted a barracuda, which is attracted to shiny things, so it's best not to swim with rings or earrings. It's easy to see why the Keys are among the world's premier fishing destinations. On our way back, we had to watch the waves and changing depths so we didn't hit sandbars. We docked at Burdine's Waterfront Marina and Bar and Grill on nearby Boot Key. And relieved to return from the open water, we enjoyed lunch by the calm water. We woke up the next morning, carefully obeyed the speed limit, and drove west on US Highway 1 over the new 7-mile bridge, a little over an hour into Key West. Beginning near the Canadian border in Fort Kent, Maine, US Highway 1 ends in Key West. Here, at mile marker 0 at the corner of Whitehead and Fleming, over 2,000 miles away. Why did this chicken cross the road, you ask? For the same reason we did. To shop. For souvenirs. On Duvall Street, we came across the Hard Rock Cafe and visited the iconic Sloppy Joe's Bar, known for its connection to writer Ernest Hemingway, who helped the owners decide on its name and regularly stopped by for scotch. We, on the other hand, prefer tropical cocktails. Next, we walked toward the waterfront for a picture outside the Cuban Coffee Queen and shopped at Ron John's. Back on Highway 1, we found Key West Lighthouse just down the street, where 88 steps will take you up to the top. It's 100 feet tall, easily making this the highest point on the island. From here, you can catch a glimpse of the Hemingway home, where the Pulitzer and Nobel Peace Prize winning author wrote, "To have and have not," while living here in the 1930s. You can also see up to 15 miles out to sea in all directions. The lighthouse was built in 1825, rebuilt after a hurricane in the 1840s, and decommissioned in 1969. You can also check out the keeper's quarters near its base. At the far end of the street, we saw the Southernmost point buoy, which is just 95 miles north of Cuba. This is the #1 most photographed site in the Florida Keys, even though the actual southernmost point of the continental United States is on Ballast Key, a privately owned island southwest of here. Finding our rental car's twin, we parked on the northwest side because no visit here would be complete without stopping by Mallory Square for sunset celebration. Complete with floating tiki bars and sailboats. This arts festival takes place 2 hours before sunset every day of the year, offering food, street performances, and my husband made me do it photo opportunities. Sadly, it was time to move on, so the moon lit the way to our next adventure, but that's another story. We hope you enjoyed traveling with us, that you'll take a moment to give this video a thumbs up, and that you'll go ahead and subscribe. You won't want to miss future videos where you can tag along. For those of you who have already been to the Florida Keys, let us know what fun things you saw in the comment section below. And for those of you who haven't been, let us know what most interested you from today's video, and see the links to the attraction websites in the description below for more information. Until next time, this is Beth, encouraging you to have an adventure all your own.